I'm quite having trust issues with the unit that HYACINE has given us this time. This fairy type Barbara is supposed to be a healer, but she also ends up contributing a significant amount of damage to the team. Yes, just yesterday we talked about the kit of a certain cat girl, and now in this video we are going to take a look at the version 1 kit of HYACINE, as well as the utility that her MEMO sprite can offer. But before we start, please hit the like and subscribe button. So, let's begin. HYACINE is a 5-star limited character following the path of remembrance. She is a dedicated healer tasked with restoring the team's HP and maintaining their survivability by cleansing debuffs. Her ultimate even grants a bonus to the entire team's max HP. Like other remembrance units, HYACINE is accompanied by a MEMO sprite, a small unicorn named Ika. This chunky unicorn provides healing to allies every time they take action. However, in exchange, it consumes a small portion of its own HP each time it performs this function. What makes this healer truly unique is her MEMO sprite's ability to deal significant AoE damage to all enemies. And this damage doesn't scale with attack or HP, but rather based on the amount of healings HYACINE performs. HYACINE has a base HP of 1087. As you unlock all of her traces, her stats further improve with a speed, effect resistance, and HP. Her basic attack is nothing special. She targets a single enemy and deals wind damage based on her max HP. When she uses her skill, she heals the entire team, excluding Ika, for 8% of her max HP plus 160. If Ika is not already present in the battle, this skill will summon her. Her ultimate functions similarly, healing the team but with much higher multiplier. It will also summon her MEMO sprite if it not has already appeared. But that's not all. Upon activating her ultimate, HYACINE enters the Petrichoric Clear Sky state. In this state, she increases the max HP of all allies by 30% of her own max HP plus 600. This may be the main reason why HYACINE could become a highly valuable support unit, especially for DPS characters whose damage scales off max HP, such as Blade, Castoris, and Mayday. So, what about HYACINE's talent? Well, her MEMO sprite, Ika, has an HP pool equal to half of HYACINE's max HP. Whenever either HYACINE or Ika performs a healing action, Ika's damage is boosted by 80% for 2 turns. This effect can stack up to 3 times, so in total, Ika gain up to a 240% damage boost. This is one of the key reasons why HYACINE stands out as such an aggressive support unit. Her talent directly empowers Ika to contribute more than just healing, pushing her into the role of a secondary damage dealer. The description mentions that the stack increases each time healing is applied, but it raises the question, can Ika herself also trigger this healing condition to gain stacks? Let's take a closer look at all of Ika's skills and talents. Unlike other MEMO sprite type summons in the game, Ika behaves a bit differently. She has 0 speed and does not appear on the action bar. Instead, she automatically activates whenever an ally on the team loses HP. In those moments, Ika sacrifices 4% of her own HP and heals the ally for 2% of HYACINE's max HP plus 20 every time that ally takes their turn or performs an action. But if Ika has no speed, then how does she attack? Here's where it gets interesting. During HYACINE's Petrichoric Clear Sky state, or in other words, while her ultimate is active, Ika is guaranteed to perform an action every time HYACINE uses an ability. When triggered, Ika will also heal the team again for 2% of HYACINE's max HP plus 20. So, what does Ika's attack look like? It launches an AoE attack that targets all enemies on the battlefield, dealing wind damage equal to 20% of the total healing done by both HYACINE and Ika during the current battle. After using this attack, the healing tally is reduced by 50%. So, the more healing you perform throughout the fight, the more damage Ika can unleash. The description doesn't clearly state whether overhealing contributes to this tally or not, but since it also doesn't restrict it to only effective HP restored, it's safe to assume that any healing, whether it overflows or not, still counts. Beyond damage and healing, Ika also plays a crucial role in energy recovery. When Ika is summoned, she grants 15 energy to HYACINE. On her first appearance in the battle, she will provide an additional 30 energy. And if Ika is ever defeated during battle, she will grant HYACINE a 30% action advance, helping her get back in the fight faster. But we are not done yet. We still have HYACINE's traces and technique to go over. Let's dive right into them. The developers clearly want HYACINE to be a high-speed unit, and it shows. With her first major trace, if her speed exceeds 200, both HYACINE and Ika will receive a 20% increase to their max HP. Additionally, for every 1 point of speed beyond 200, HYACINE and Ika gain 1% outgoing healing bonus, up to a cap of 200 speed. Meaning a total of 400 speed is theoretically possible. While that might sound unrealistic, it's not entirely out of reach for endgame content like Simulated Universe or Divergent Universe. This design encourages HYACINE to be fast, and being fast means more turns, more energy regen, and thus more ultimate uptime. And that in turn means more consistent damage from Ika and more frequent max HP buffs for allies. HYACINE also has a way to protect herself beyond just healing. With her second trace, she gains 50% effect resistance, helping her resist crowd control and status effects. But don't worry, she also brings team-wide cleanse. Whenever HYACINE heals using either her skill or ultimate, she also dispels one debuff from every ally. Given her high turn rate, you won't have to worry too much about lingering debuffs. She will likely be using her skill often enough to keep your team clean. The only downside, she almost certainly going to be SP negative, so make sure you have a team that can handle that. Now, since building high speed can be tricky for some players, her third trace helps balance that. It grants 100% crit rate to both HYACINE's attacks and Ika's. With this guaranteed crit rate, Ika's damage becomes even more reliable and impactful, making her a legitimate contributor to the team's DPS. So when building HYACINE, assuming there are no major changes in version 3, your focus should simply be speed and crit damage. There's more. Whenever HYACINE heals an ally whose HP has fallen below 50%, both she and Ika gains 25% outgoing healing. This gives you a nice conditional boost that keeps your team safe during clutch moments. Now for her technique, when using before entering battle, it heals the entire team for 30% of her max HP plus 600, and gives HYACINE herself a 20% max HP buff for 2 turns. This is not just a nice pre-battle heal, it also contributes to the healing tally for Ika's damage. And it's a perfect counter to Castory's technique, which drains all allies' HP when battle begins. So that wraps up HYACINE's E0 kit in version 1. Curious to see how her power scales with Eidolons? If so, let's take a look at what each Eidolon brings to the table. HYACINE's Eidolon 1 makes her even more compatible with DPS, or units whose damage scales with max HP. When she enters her Patrichoric Clear Sky state, the max HP buff she provides to the team is increased by additional 50%. But it doesn't stop there. As long as this state is active, every ally who performs an attack will also receive healing. This makes her even more valuable in aggressive team comps where healing on the go is essential. Eidolon 2 gives her 30% speed boost for 2 turns whenever an ally loses HP. This can help her hit that 200 speed threshold more easily. But honestly, E2 doesn't seem all that impactful, especially for a high investment pool. Now Eidolon 4 is where things get serious. It's a huge upgrade to her first trace, since E2 already helps her surpass the 200 speed benchmark. Every point of speed beyond 200 will now also increase HYACINE's crit damage. This turns her, and more importantly Ika, into legitimate hybrid supports that contribute even more to overall team DPS. Lastly, Eidolon 6 drastically improves Ika's damage uptime. When Ika attacks, she will only consume 10% of the healing tally instead of 50%. And when Ika is summoned onto the battlefield, she will give the entire team 24% all-type rest spend, boosting overall damage output from every element. In the current version, Eidolon 4 is arguably the best one. It gives you extra value if you can build HYACINE with over 200 speed, making her both a stronger support and a more aggressive hybrid unit. That said, Eidolon 1 alone is already a solid power spike. It's more than enough to enhance her performance as team-wide buffer. Units like Blade, Castories, Mayday, and even 3B will seriously benefit from that enhanced max HP buff. Plus, the passive healing on every ally attacks add excellent sustain in fast-paced fights. But just a quick reminder, this analysis is only for version 1. Things could very well change in future patches, including her Eidolons. If you are curious about HYACINE's signature light cone, well, don't go anywhere, we will cover that in the next section. The user of HYACINE's light cone will gain a massive 18% speed bonus, which is honestly a huge deal. But the real twist, whenever the wearer uses a basic attack, skill, or ultimate, it will consume 1% of every ally's current HP. Then after the wearer's member spread attacks, it will trigger an additional instance of damage, dealing 250% of the total consumed HP as a single nuke hit. After this, the consumed HP value resets, ready to be stacked again. But wait, there's more. Once the MEMO sprite uses its skill, it will inflict a debuff that increases damage taken by enemies. So in short, this LC gives you speed, HP consumption synergy, a massive bonus damage nuke, and vulnerability debuff for even more team-wide damage. While it's clearly tailor-made for HYACINE, this light cone is also a great fit for RMC. The HP consumption mechanic is not super useful for melee, but it can be very impactful for Blade. Thanks to HYACINE's high speed and frequent turns, HP loss will trigger more often, allowing Blade's talent to stack faster, which means more frequent follow-up attacks and higher damage output. So is it realistic for HYACINE to get 200 speed? Well, yes, let's break it down. Her base speed is already 110, unlocking all her traces adds 14, bringing her to 124. Using speed boots, which is pretty much a must, give another 25, now she's at 149. Her signature LC adds 18% speed, which roughly brings her to 175. Using Giant Tree Planner set, her best in slot, gives 6% speed, bumping her up to about 186. So we are only missing 14 speed, which can easily be found in substats. But even better, a new relic set is coming that provides 12% speed in total, closing the gap almost entirely without relying heavily on RNG rolls. So yes, hitting 200 speed is totally realistic, especially if you pull her LC. Even without it, you will definitely need to rely more on those substat rolls. Is HYACINE only meant for max HP scaled units? Some people might be questioning this, but personally, and based on her version 1 kit, I would say yes. A lot of DPS units in the game that scale off max HP offer a unique advantage. They don't consume many skill points. Take Blade and Castries for example. They are both efficient units that rarely burn through skill points like crazy. And that's exactly where HYACINE shines. Not only does she synergize well with these units thanks to her max HP buffs, but she also benefits greatly from having access to more skill points. That way she can spam her skill more often, which helps fill up her ultimate faster and enhance her healing, which in turn boosts Ika's damage output. So she can basically become a skill point sponge when paired with units that don't need many themselves. It's kinda like how Aglia pairs with Huohuo. Aglia doesn't consume much SP, which technically donates more skill economy for Huohuo to keep spamming skills. I'm not sure if that's the perfect comparison, but you get that idea, right? Of course, HYACINE can still work in other team comps since at her core she is still a healer and a cleanser. But honestly, her true potential only really shines when she is able to contribute to team-wide damage, not just healing. That damage support hybrid identity is what makes her unique. So HYACINE is quite solid unit for now. Her ability to contribute to team damage on top of healing is definitely a plus point. On top of that, she's designed to be a very fast unit, which means she can provide healing frequently, even if the amount is not massive. The same goes for her cleansing ability. While the speed requirement may feel a bit demanding, it's all balanced out by the fact that her damage will always crit, and honestly, her damage should not be underestimated. So yay, free crits. Outside of her kit, HYACINE also comes with a great signature light cone, especially because it works well on RMC, which is a unit that everybody owns. However, HYACINE really wants to spam skills, which makes her an SP negative unit. This happens because of her high speed, meaning the duration of Petrichor Clear Skies runs out faster, and with her high energy cost, she's eager to use skills every time her turn comes. Because of this, the best team comps for her are those that don't consume many skill points, or even generate excess SP, like Blade, Castries, or Mayday, which means her optimal team options might feel a bit limited if you want to fully unlock her potential. So that wraps up the breakdown and analysis of HYACINE's V1. What do you guys think? Does HYACINE need any adjustments in the future updates? Let me know in the comments below. I hope this explanation helped you out, and if you enjoyed it, please give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and share this video to your friends. And I will see you all in the next one.